fascinating about graffiti is that it has brought more artists out into the public and to create their work in public with no, certainly in 99% of the cases, with no thought of being paid for it, with no thought of it leading to money or any of that other stuff. This is a really pure expression in that people do it because it's fun, and they do it because they enjoy being outside, they enjoy seeing the work of others on the walls and trains, and they go out and do it because they want their work to join them.
The number one difference in LA graffiti is people do graffiti so that they can be seen. And in New York, it's about the trains, and the trains went everywhere. In LA, we have freeways, and we have, at the time, RTD, So people will bomb on the RTD buses and on the freeways. And, you put your name up on a freeway, and you can have, thousands of people per hour viewing your piece, So to us, that was fame and getting up, And also just stylistically, there's a whole LA flavor because it's different from anywhere else. I mean, in LA you have gang culture. In LA you have Mexican culture, which includes, muralists. And if I grew up on the East Side basically, and I would see these murals by, streetscapers and all these other guys, Chicano murals, and those were very influential on me because to me it was like the scale once again was impactful, but then also they were always talking about some kind of struggle and always talking about some kind of political tone to their piece, and I always related to that.
Graffiti is very much rooted in the terrain of a city and the geography of the city and the architecture of the city. And if you go from a place like New York to a place like Chicago or Boston, well, okay, they're reasonably similar and they kind of make sense. You can make a one-to-one comparison. But if you go from New York and you go to, say, Honolulu or Phoenix, you're talking about some really different cities. They're built differently, they look different, they don't have the same spaces to paint in, and the kids had to invent that. They had to go figure it all out. And seeing that kind of kid creativity across the United States and the way that it manifested itself was really interesting.
Just cut it.
On the graph side, same thing too. You have your letters, and we had like spray can art, subway art, and the movies that came out were pretty much our Bibles. But then everybody would call you a biter if you came out with the same stuff, as the stuff that we've seen in the books and videos. So we had to make up ourselves, take a bar and bend it a little bit more just to give it that Hawaiian funk. Everybody in each city has their own flair to the basic structure, and it's interesting to see when you look at the overall picture how each city took the general handbook and flipped it to match their own city, and that's what we're doing here. As far as the graph scene is concerned, we're taking what we have around us. Who the hell would paint bananas the way we do? We see taro every day, clouds, beautiful skies. We paint the paradise that we live in. We paint the surroundings we live in. We're not trying to be like any other city.
I think the infectious nature of that creativity is amazing. The other thing is that it knocks down all these international barriers. You don't have to speak a language with people to paint with them, and the collaborations are constant. It's a collaborative art form constantly. And, you pointed a color, you pointed a cap, and, you're gone. You're working on it. And it's gone all over the world. And I find that so fascinating.
It's visual. You're looking at it, you know what I mean? Like, you paint with someone, it's kind of like when you hear a punchline from an MC, you're like, oh man, I can't believe you fucking said that. Like, you see an artist that you just had met from across the whole other side of the planet, and you see his work, and you're just like, oh, where did that style come from? Because style comes from so many different places, and we grew up in cartoons, man. Like, we grew up with Disney and Cartoon Network and all this like really cartoony kind of, you know, worlds. And like, that's what we grew up with. So our graffiti, most of our graffiti comes from that, you know, like our mind, the way we think, what characters look like. I mean, you know, with Mark Bodie and all those guys, like you look at classic graffiti. But in Europe, they grew up with Michelangelo and Picasso and all these Renaissance painters. That was their background. So when you see their art, you can see it in there. You like, sometimes you wonder, like, man, this European style is nuts, man. Like, but when you really step back and look at it and see where we came up and how they came up, it just makes sense, you know.
I really am just interested, maybe more in the social context of it, because graffiti, being this, you know, real art of freedom, is an amazing marker of social change that will be coming to a lot of parts of the world. So that's what I look forward to.